It's the Cobry Cafetiere of cloud knowledge. Oh yeah.
Resource equals bookable thing on a calendar, whether it be a vehicle, room, or piece of equipment. Resource, I guess, a good word for it. It's a perfect word for it. And then buildings are simply just a location. It actually has a location associated with it. You have to put an address, physical location, which you can organize resources into. I guess the main advantage is that admins are able to create them and set them for the whole company.
Yeah. But it also, for the end user as well, it makes it easier for them to find, I think, when resources are actually available, like at a glance. And you can get reporting on like whether, those resources are being utilized properly, or like how many meetings are being booked in rooms and then not actually being used.
You can connect it to the Google hardware that gets offered as well, like Google Meet kits and Jamboards. That can be very handy. So it allows people to book out those resources directly. Real cool. And it means when you go on the device, the calendar will be already displayed on the device, which is brilliant. Makes it really easy to join meetings.
Well, let's go through the whole journey. So let's say I want to add the podcast room, right? We're going to make a new podcast room, and so these are the two categories, right? You get a meeting space, which has an address, and another resource. Cobry office at floor 3, floor section doesn't matter. Resource name will be that podcast room, right? Capacity, make that, for example, 3. So 3 people can use the podcast room at a time. So if I add that as a resource, now we've got a podcast room. Your resources don't show anywhere else apart from calendar.
Show subscribing to it, to have it permanently there as a fixture. If you're like the office manager, then you'd want to go to the plus and then subscribe.
Yes,
or
view resources.
Right, so let's say I'm interested in the podcast room. I want to see that. Oh yeah, there we go. So Cobry Office 3 podcast room. So now if I create a meeting and add rooms, I add the podcast room and go back and say recording podcast. We should see this come up in the orange.
You find a time. It's pretty neat as well. If you don't want to subscribe to it and you don't care that much about the calendar, but you need to look at it sometimes, that would be a better method.
So how would I do that in terms of find a time? Would
More
that be
options.
Slots? More options.
I always go for the advanced. And then once you add rooms, the second tab on the right hand side.
Yep. Podcast room.
And then you can even add other guests if you want.
Yeah, that's true. So let's say me and Gordon are recording another podcast.
Just click back to guests instead of rooms, the tab.
Yeah, there we go. Get Gordon in.
You can do find a time and it should overlay all 3.
Suggested times. And now we can see all 3 overlaid.
So you can set gatekeepers in the company that are the only people allowed to actually book the events or confirm them at least.
Yeah, so if you click on the 3 dots and then just go to settings on the podcast room, settings and sharing, and then scroll down where it says access permissions. So the access permissions is a little bit different. Yeah. So that one's just who has access, who's able to see this resource essentially, where it says share with specific people. Only those people will have access to that. They will have access to the resource. Yeah. So where it says see all event details, you can change it there.